basically humanity de-evolves or splits in its evolution between mankind and what we call half-breeds. Yesterday we answered one of the questions about who the half-breeds were, the Lycans. It's one species of half-breeds. There are more, but the ones that we're concentrating on here are the werewolves and Lycans.
So we're talking about, obviously, the year 1886, but the story kind of peels itself back to centuries ago, where they talk about the half-breed sort of coming and the plight between the humans and the half-breed. How much are we going to really uncover about the history leading up to the year they're in?
There's going to be quite a few things. You're going to find out I don't want to say everything about it, but you will definitely find out a lot of things about how the game plays,
technology, and what they had back then. But when we see the gorgeous gameplay, by the way, we obviously can tell that they're a bit more advanced than they actually were in that year. I'm curious a little bit more about how you guys approach the whole concept of developing technology. I mean, you've merged sort of time frames really well.
The tricky thing was exactly that, merging the time frames. Merging it meant for us to stay believable, we needed to use things that existed at the time and just twist it enough that people would believe that it existed in the form that we have. For example, here you see the thermite gun. Thermite actually is aluminum iron oxide. It actually exists, and you can basically melt it the way you do basically in the game. The twist for us is we've made it into a weapon. The lightning gun that Isabeau is holding actually on the side over there is basically built on Tesla's inventions at the time. We tried to basically do as much as we could by keeping that believability, by making sure that everything we built had some kind of reality in the 1800s. So although it is, like you said, a melding, it's funny how even we start questioning whether some of these things actually were true at the time as we keep on building them.
So, the other great thing is that in this day and age, new IPs are something that gamers celebrate. And I feel like just reading up a little bit on the lore, the backstory, because as I mentioned, sort of the struggle for centuries, I feel like there's already, the franchise capability in something like this. I know we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, right? Because the game is still, but when you see something really polished and has such a sort of depth to its story, I kind of feel that way. What can you tell me about the characters as far as establishing them as these gaming icons as well?
That's again one of the biggest drives, right? When you create an IP. There's so much work that we're putting to create these characters. I mean, from the get-go, from the past history, the character sheets, how they came to be, all of that is already existing. It's all stuff that was written, we have, and we keep. We're going to slowly reveal things about them because that's the fun part. Some of these guys are hundreds of years old. You have to remember that they have had a life that is far beyond what a human would live through. So, I mean, there's of course that work, there's the writing work that went into the script, but there's also the actors. Everything you see in this game is motion captured. Even the gameplay, although it's fully playable and all that stuff, we made sure that every move felt real. So we have stunt actors, performance actors, SAG talent, doing all of this stuff so that they remain true to what you would expect out of a real character on film. The beauty of it is that that's what it took to build all these characters: Galahad, Igraine, Percival, and Lafayette.
Is it, we're in the dawn of the next generation, with the motion capture and obviously the realism that we see here. People look at that from a previous generation, they're like, I feel like I'm watching all CG, but we're dealing with next generation hardware here. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the Order 1886 really starts to showcase to us, hey, this is what's possible, this is how good this stuff can look?
Oh, well, I hope so. The goal for us certainly was to, when we started working on this franchise, to explore what could be done in next gen. At the time when we started, there was no such a thing. Of course, we could just speculate. So, our artists and our technology people really had a blank sheet, and in a way, since we kind of skipped the PS3 generation, it worked to our advantage because we shot from the sky and then we took it back down until it worked. So it's one way to go about it.
So I did see someone real quickly in chat mention a little bit about the healing. Wondered if maybe you could talk a little bit about the healing, the what they discover something that helps them with this healing.
So the black water,
Yes.
it's something that we introduced in the game. It's something that you'll find out more about in the story itself.
Okay.
But the interesting thing about it, gameplay-wise, that it does allow you this healing and regenerative possibility. You saw Percival actually drinking it right there. The player is going to be able to use it in the game to do a few things. I mean, like he uses the black water to heal, of course. But in this gameplay sequence that Andrea is playing right now, you'll see what he's going to do. It's an ability called Black Sight, and Black Sight is a secondary effect of using black water for Aegis, and it hones their skills. It basically gives them this possibility of slowing down time. Actually, they're going faster than anything else, and target very, very precisely each of the enemies. So Blackwater has a life in this game that is beyond just the regeneration. It is an integral part of the IP.
Okay, and forgive me if I start to get into some details I can't really talk about, but in everything I've seen so far, it looks like you've got the team experience, sort of, your lead characters working together. Mm-hmm. Will we see a focus on individual characters, or will we always be sort of acting as a team?
You will see a lot of focus on individual characters as well. There's going to be a lot of ins and outs for the characters. They're going to come into gameplay, they're going to come out.
Okay.
You're going to have moments where you're four, so when you're playing with 3 people, when you're playing with 2 people, and also when you're playing solo. It's really about, the game is going to be seen through the eyes of Galahad, and it's really about reinforcing his character, reinforcing his storyline through these interactions. Okay,
fantastic. Well, the game looks gorgeous. Another question was, can you give us any indication on, the locales? Is it mostly take place in London? Can you give us any, do we know where we might go and what we might see?
Well, it is placed in London, the whole game, but every part of London you can imagine, from undergrounds to special places we're not going to talk about right now.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
It's certainly not all going to be in Whitechapel. In fact, there are going to be lots of locations that are actually very colorful and with a drastically different art style, just so that people don't think that it's all with this kind of a depressing section.
Hey, it's a grim time, right? Hey, the half-breeds, they've got to be controlled, so...
Whitechapel was very dirty and very violent during this time.
What are you guys excited? You've...
A war without end requires a soldier without end.
Grave, we're in position! Move out!
I once believed it.
Take his arms.
But in this age, the convictions of a knight hold little comfort. Not when I fight those I once bled to protect.
Go!
And still bleed to protect a peace that was lost long ago.
Igraine, Lafayette, I'll need you to provide cover.
As we wrest hollow victories on the streets of London. The hidden enemy readies our defeat.
I can smell you. Human.
Look out!
Save your prayers, Lafayette. There is no God to help him.
The blood that binds us is our covenant. A reminder of our legacy, of a time when darkness threatened the very existence of mankind. We forged our blades, gathered our ranks, and began our vigil in our relentless pursuit of evil in all forms. And for centuries, we have struggled against an unyielding and determined foe. But now, the age of old has given way to a new era, an age of industry, progress has led to unrest, sedition, and rebellion. Enemies old and new now wage war against us on every front. The world changes, but our duty remains the same. We shall stand. We shall prevail. And order shall be restored.
Such indiscriminate slaughter. I've never seen its like before.
I'd say we should be prepared for anything.